Hello, welcome back to another breaking news update. My name is Jimmy Boyd, and you were watching Boyd News. I want to thank you so much for tuning in today. I'm back with some more updates coming out from the war between Russia and Ukraine, and I've got major updates here for you today. Lots of things to go over based on what we've been talking about over the last few days. But some of the biggest news we have coming out from Ukraine in the last 24 hours is major strikes inside of Ukraine. Looks like we had at least 60 drones that were fired from the Russians last night into Ukraine. Also, lots of different missiles flying into Ukraine. We have several cities being destroyed. We've got lots of civilian targets being struck. We have a Ukrainian wheat cargo ship that was struck just off the coast of the Black Sea as it was leaving into international waters. We have a Red Cross humanitarian aid truck that was destroyed also inside of Ukraine by apparently a Russian missile. So lots of civilian targets being attacked. We have multiple cities that were targeted last night by Russian missiles. We had a town inside of Sumy. They are basically out of power. We have major strikes inside of Pokrovsk, a key city on the Eastern Front in the Donetsk region. We'll go over a report there. Also, Kharkiv come under attack. I mean, guys, just attacks all over the place. We're definitely seeing major strikes inside of Ukraine over the last 24 hours. So I've got lots of updates in regards to that. Also, one last thing before we jump into the news. I believe Ukraine has struck an ammo warehouse in Mariupol. Okay, this is in occupied Ukrainian territory. It's a city on the southern or southeastern portion of Ukraine, close to the Sea of Azov, currently controlled by the Russians. So we'll go over that as well. So this video footage that you're watching here is Ukrainian HIMARS striking a pontoon bridge in the Kursk region. So we've definitely been seeing a lot of this. The Russians continuously construct these pontoon bridges, as there's three main bridges in the Kursk region in the Glushkovsky district that we've been discussing that have been destroyed. And looks like at night, Ukraine had launched a massive HIMARS cluster munition attack, striking these troops that were trying to cross this pontoon bridge. So that's what you're watching there. You can see those cluster munitions striking the ground, and then all the Russians are scattering to try to get out of there after this attack took place. So pretty crazy video that popped up on X that I thought I would share with you guys here today. So let's go ahead and hop into the news, guys. I've got a ton of things to show with you here today, or to show you here today. First, we're going to start with this report on Radio Free Europe. Radio Liberty. It says Britain reportedly gives Ukraine green light for long-range strikes. Okay, so I reported to you yesterday that David Lammy, the UK Foreign Secretary, along with the US Secretary of State Anthony Blinken, arrived in Kiev yesterday, and we had that report coming out from The Guardian stating that supposedly there was a decision behind closed doors in a private meeting that Ukraine was given the ability to strike targets inside of Russian territory using British Storm Shadow missiles. So this was another report just coming out today reiterating that same claim. Okay, so most likely what we are going to hear very soon, probably sometime this week, if not in the near future, is that Ukraine has the ability for sure to strike targets inside of Russian territory using British Storm Shadow missiles. Now, we don't have any update in terms of ATACMS missiles yet. That will have to be announced by the United States. Probably Anthony Blinken will announce that at some point in the near future. Or they may not at all, okay? Because I showed you guys a report just yesterday that ATACMS missiles are in very low supply, apparently, from the Ukrainians and also the United States. So who knows what will happen with ATACMS, but we know for sure British Storm Shadow missile looks like it is green lit for Ukraine to use inside of Russia, but we're waiting for official confirmation from the UK. Also, this is from Nexta on X. It says, just in, Dmitry Peskov reports Russia will respond to Ukraine's permission to launch strikes with Western missiles deep into Russian territory. According to the Kremlin spokesman, such a decision significantly increases the degree of involvement of the countries of the collective West in the conflict. Moscow has no doubt that the decision to lift restrictions on the use of long-range missiles to attack Russian territory was made long ago, said Russian Foreign Minister Lavrov. The Guardian quoted sources as saying that the UK would allow Ukraine to strike Russia with Storm Shadow missiles. Okay, so this is Dmitry Peskov, the spokesman for the Kremlin. That's what he came out saying, along with the Foreign Minister Sergei Lavrov. That was his quote right here as well, talking about that these decisions for Ukraine to strike targets inside of Russia was probably made long ago. That's something that Lavrov said. But in regards to this is going to be a very interesting situation because how this is looked at now is that Ukraine is being given permission by the, let's say the United States or UK for sure for right now, right? And the fact that they're giving permission for Ukraine to strike targets in Russia, this draws for sure the UK into the conflict. Okay, that's how Russia's going to see this. They're going to say, well, you're allowing Ukraine to strike targets inside of our territory with these missiles that are provided by you, the UK. So they're going to look at this as, well, now you're a party of the conflict. So we're going to have to see how this moves forward, but it's definitely very dangerous, and we could for sure see some major escalation coming from Russia's part. And obviously, there's always that major threat of nuclear war, okay? And it all depends on the red lines that Russia's been talking about. And we're going to have to see what happens here. This is definitely going to get crazy and out of control very quick. So now I've got this report from Liskovka. Last night, 69 Russian air attack vehicles were detected as of 9 a.m. The Russians attacked Chernihiv region with 2 Iskander-M ballistic missiles and 1 X-59-69 guided missile, 2 X-22-32 cruise missiles, and from Tu-22 M3 aircraft, and 64 Shahed attack UAVs. Okay, so lots of Russian drones flying into Ukraine last night, at least 64 Shahed drones that are originally made in Iran. And then also we've got several missiles flying into Ukraine also, and I've got reports that show some of the attacks from these missile strikes inside of Ukraine. Okay, so let's move on to our next update. From Ozen Technical, earlier this evening, Ukrainian forces successfully struck a Russian ammunition dump outside of Mariupol. Multiple large fires and secondary explosions could be seen from nearby as the dump cooked off. So we've got a 16-second clip from Ozen Technical showing us what appears to be this ammo depot inside of Mariupol in southeastern Ukraine, or occupied Ukrainian territory. Take a look. Okay, to me, based on this video, it kind of looks like, for sure, we've got a strike here. We've got secondary explosions going off of here. So we got smoke going this way. And then it kind of looks like over here, there might be some sort of fire cooking off over there. So we may have had multiple warehouses being struck. And if they weren't all ammo warehouses, maybe they were other military targets that Ukraine was trying to strike inside of the Mariupol region. But definitely appears to be some major strikes here in this area, as we can see from this video footage. So we'll move on to our next update now from Kvist P. Looks like Ukraine bombed a Russian ammo warehouse in the port area of Melikin, Mariupol region of Ukraine this morning. Reports say that it is still exploding. Okay, so this came out just yesterday morning. So sometime in like the last 24 hours was when the reports were coming out that this thing was struck. We've got this post here that says, in the morning it flew over the warehouse with ammunition in the Ork rest base in Melikin. Ambulances are taken out nonstop. The number of incapacitated occupiers has reached over 20. The village and the roads are blocked, said Petro Andreyushenko, advisor to the mayor of Mariupol. Okay, so this appears to show where this was located, very close to the Sea of Azov, as we can see the beach right here. So it looks like we for sure had one location that was attacked. I think we got a video coming up next, so let's take a look at that.
Ох, ракеты там летают. Вон еще полетели.
Okay, we'll go ahead and pause it there. We can definitely see in the distance over here a fire breaking out. And we can see little flashes over here too, which indicate secondary explosions, probably some ammunition that was stored over here, maybe missiles. Who knows what was stored here, but probably I would think there's probably going to be a lot of like tank ammunition, probably more ammunition for ground troops than anything. Most of the missiles that we see that explode, like, glide bombs, things like that, are generally inside of Russian territory. So that's probably why we're seeing a smaller explosion here. But nonetheless, definitely some secondary explosions going on there in that ammo warehouse. So now we're going to talk about some of these civilian strikes inside of Ukraine. This is from Volodymyr Zelensky, the president of Ukraine. Russian missile against a wheat cargo bound for Egypt. Tonight, Russia launched a strike on an ordinary civilian vessel in the Black Sea right after it left Ukrainian territorial waters. Fortunately, there were no casualties, according to preliminary reports, which is a good thing. There were no casualties here. Ukraine is one of the key global food security guarantors. Domestic stability and normal life in dozens of countries around the world are dependent on the normal and unhindered operation of our food export corridor. Ukraine's food deliveries to African and Middle Eastern countries are critical. We will continue to make every effort to safeguard our ports, the Black Sea, and food exports to global markets. This is Ukraine's true priority to protect life, and it should be the priority of all countries. We are waiting for the world to react. Wheat and food security should never be targets for missiles. So something I wanted to note here is that just months back, we reported many times that Ukraine was attacking a lot of Russian Black Sea Fleet ships down here near like Crimea, for example. They basically chased out the majority of the Black Sea Fleet, if not all of it, away from Crimea. And a large portion of that was also due to making sure that these shipping lanes stay open for Ukraine to transport wheat throughout the world. So we can see massive damage here to this ship that appears to be struck by something here. So was it a drone or a missile? Really hard to tell, but definitely some major damage here to this wheat cargo ship. What is the significance of this other than putting pressure on Ukraine or trying to prevent them from producing income maybe from these wheat and grain ships? Who knows? But we have seen Russia do this time and time again, targeting lots of civilian infrastructure inside of Ukraine. Now we've got a wheat cargo ship coming under attack. So now we're going to talk about this Red Cross transport truck that was destroyed also in Ukraine. This in the Donetsk region. It says Volodymyr Zelensky reports on X. Another Russian war crime today. The occupier attacked vehicles of the International Committee of the Red Cross humanitarian mission in the Donetsk region. As of now, we know of 2 injured people who are receiving all necessary assistance. Unfortunately, 3 people were killed in this Russian strike. My deepest condolences to their family and friends. In this war, everything is absolutely clear. Russia sows evil. Ukraine defends life. If anyone wants to hear both sides in Russia, it is only perceived as permission to kill again. The world must respond firmly and with principle. Countries and international organizations, cannot remain indifferent. Only together can the world force Russia to stop this terror and make Moscow seek peace. Okay, so that's definitely a major objective for Ukraine right now. They're trying to force Russia to make peace with Ukraine, which is why we're most likely going to start seeing strikes inside of Russia soon. But yeah, this is a Red Cross truck that was literally struck and destroyed. Was it destroyed by a missile or drone? It looks like it could have been a missile here. This appears to be very massive damage on this truck, and I don't see anything else that would have been targeted here other than this truck. We can see there's a building here in the background. Maybe that building was hit as well. That could have been the target. Who knows? But it definitely looks like this truck took a direct hit from the top, as we can see some damage here on the top of this truck. Okay, so again, guys, lots of civilian targets inside of Ukraine being struck in the last 24 hours. We've repeatedly seen this over and over time again for many months now. So also for Max 24, right now, unknown UAVs are trying to break into the Olenya airfield in the Murmansk region. Tu-95MS aircraft are based there in the region. For the second day in a row, the carpet plan is introduced at 2 airports. Okay, so this is the second day in a row we've heard of Ukrainian UAV drones attacking the Murmansk region. This is way far north up near Finland. I showed you guys this yesterday. We have more reports of drones heading up that direction, again, targeting the Olenya airfield, where strategic bombers from Russia are located. Okay, they're Tu-95MS, as it shows here. These aircraft are stationed over there, and Ukraine has been trying to strike these up in the Murmansk region, okay? And then we're still hearing reports coming from Russians saying that drones are coming from Norway. I haven't been able to officially confirm that, but some Russians on their Telegram channels are reporting that, and then we've got sources here on X saying that as well. So let's move on to NOAA reports now. We're going to talk about the Sumy region coming under attack by Russia also. In Sumy, Russia launched several strikes on the infrastructure of Konotop, including a hit on residential areas in the city center. According to the mayor, the city has lost power, and there are initial reports of casualties. Emergency services are working at the scene. So again, we've got more reports of casualties, what appears to be innocent people being struck by these Russian missiles or drones coming into this town of Konotop. And Konotop is a town on the western side of the Sumy region, which is extremely close to the Kursk offensive that has been opened up since August 6th last month, and by the Ukrainians when they pushed into the Kursk region, okay? And like I said, we continue to see this happening, so I want to show you this video coming out from Konotop as we can see destruction here inside the town. So let's take a look at this, 13 seconds. All right, guys, so we could definitely see major damage to some building over here. Just as the camera started to pan, we also have got what appears to be some sort of vehicle, maybe, or I don't know if that's a part of a train or something, as we can see tracks right here, and we can definitely see major attacks here. What appears to be on civilian infrastructure once again. And if you look around, there's no lights. Okay, so the power has definitely been taken out here in this town, and this is a pretty good-sized town in the Sumy region, okay? It's not as big as like Sumy, the city itself, but it's one of their other major cities or towns inside of the Sumy region, okay? So I've got one more report coming out from there as well, from Bliskovka. On the night of September 12th, Russians carried out a massive airstrike on energy and civilian infrastructure facilities in the Konotop community. As of now, 13 people have been injured. So look at that, guys. Even more reports of injuries here. Reports the Sumy Regional Military Administration. Emergency services are working at the spot. The aftermath of the airstrike is being eliminated. Okay, so we've got video footage, what appears to be more of the aftermath of the strikes here in Konotop also. So let's take a look at this, 17 seconds.
Пошкоджена трамвайна колія. Завтра не буде трамвайного сполучення тимчасово.
Okay, so what this looks like to me was some sort of direct hit on the ground, but we can also see metal here. So maybe this was the railroad tracks that we're looking at here. I think that's what we're seeing, was maybe a strike on the railroad tracks here, maybe to destroy the tracks so Ukraine can't use these. Maybe they're using it to transport equipment, or who knows, because I know the Sumy region has a lot of Ukrainian soldiers right now passing through there as they move into the Kursk region. So I wouldn't be surprised if this is a strike here on this railroad system to try to prevent Ukraine from transporting equipment, as maybe they're using this railroad to move their military equipment over to the Kursk region. So that's probably what we're seeing there. But let me know. It's really hard. Let me know what you think. It's kind of hard to see what we're looking at there. It's very dark. So also, from Bliskovka, again, there were 2 missile arrivals in one of Kharkiv's densely populated districts. The city's mayor, Terekov, reports information on casualties and damage is being updated. So we don't have any reports yet on whether people were harmed in this attack or any damage or anything, but what's coming out just early this morning, just a couple hours ago actually at the time that I report this, is more missiles striking inside of Kharkiv. And we've reported so many times of Kharkiv coming under attack. There was definitely like about a 2-month pause there. I want to say back in maybe June and July, where there wasn't so many attacks. And then all of a sudden, right around August or so, we started to see major attacks happening inside of Kharkiv again. So it's very horrible to see this, guys. Very horrible. So let's move on now to defense of Ukraine. One Russian Su-30 SM jet, and it says warriors of the DI Ukraine Special Unit destroyed a Russian Su-30 SM combat aircraft with man-pads over the Black Sea. Great job. So what's being reported here as of yesterday is that I reported to you guys there was a Russian Su-30 SM that supposedly had crashed somewhere off the coast of Sevastopol near Crimea in the Black Sea. And there was some reports coming out stating that it may have been shot down, but it wasn't confirmed. Well, now the defense of Ukraine is reporting that it definitely was shot down by Ukrainian man-pads over the Black Sea. This is a Russian supersonic fighter bomber, okay? And Russia doesn't have too many of these, so this is obviously a major hit. I'm sure this thing is at least $30 million or more just for one of these aircraft. So definitely this is confirmed from the defense of Ukraine, stating that it was shot down with Ukrainian manpads, okay? So now I got an update coming out from the Donetsk region on the Eastern Front. This is the town of Pokrovsk, okay? We've been talking a lot about this. It's a major rail and transport hub for Ukraine, and many of the people have left this city already as the Russians are approaching closer to this city to try to take it over, and Ukraine is desperately trying to hold on to it. So I've got a report coming out from there. Next to reports, Pokrovsk has been left without water due to the attacks of the occupiers. More than 26,000 people remain there. A modular filtering station that supplied the town with water has stopped working. The head of the Donetsk region military administration, Vadim Filashkin, said he urged local residents to evacuate. The occupiers, meanwhile, destroyed the Dmitrovsky Bridge that connected Pokrovsk with Myrnarad. Okay, so this video is going to show that bridge that has been destroyed by the Russians. This is a bridge that connects these two major towns, Pokrovsk and Myrnarad. Okay, they sit adjacent to each other. Pokrovsk is to the west of Myrnarad, and we got reports of this bridge being struck. And then also, if you notice here, the water stations are not working now, so now they don't have clean water for this city. And this was a pretty good sized city. I want to say there was at least 100,000 people that lived here, potentially, or more. Now it looks like this city is going to crumble and the people are going to have to leave if there's no water. So very unfortunate. And again, the Russians are getting closer to taking this over. We'll see if Ukraine is going to be able to hold it. But we've got a 15-second clip that shows some Ukrainians driving through here and showing this bridge being destroyed by the Russians. So take a look.
Попал на работу, блядь. Попал на...
Okay, so we can see from this video definitely major damage to this bridge. There was even a car on that bridge that looks like right as it was struck, probably a missile came and took this thing out. And we know that, like I said, Pokrovsk and Myrnarad are major cities right next to each other. And this obviously is going to stop the flow of anything going from one city to the other. This was the only bridge, from what I understand, that connects these two cities. And I see why Russia would have targeted this and tried to take this out. So they're trying to put maximum pressure on Pokrovsk, as we've seen Russia do this, okay? Anytime they're planning to take over a city, they usually destroy it into oblivion before moving in. So very terrible to have to see this, guys. So we're going to move on to our next update. And also, if you hear any noise in the background, my apologies. We have some construction crews outside redoing the pavement. So they're outside working right now. So my apologies if you hear anything external in the background. So also, from Igor Sushko, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken, in Kyiv, Ukraine, it is important that the Ukrainian people continue to hear directly from us. We remain fully committed to Ukraine's victory. Ukraine finally received authorization to strike back at Russia with ATACMS and Storm Shadow missiles. Okay, so we're going to get an update here from yesterday from Antony Blinken speaking in Ukraine. I just wanted to show you this, and it was one of the reports coming out from Kyiv as he was speaking there. So let's go ahead and take a look at this real quick.
It's important that the Ukrainian people continue to hear directly from us. We remain fully committed to Ukraine's victory, to not only ensuring that Ukraine can defend itself today, but can stand on its own feet strongly, militarily, economically, democratically, for many, many days ahead, to securing the path the Ukrainian people have chosen toward greater integration in the Euro-Atlantic community, including the European Union and NATO, to getting a just and lasting peace. The bottom line is this: we want Ukraine to win, and we're fully committed to keep marshaling the support that it needs for its brave defenders and citizens to do just that. It's important that the Ukraine...
Okay, so I thought that was a pretty big statement coming out from U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken. If you notice, he said, we want Ukraine to win. Okay, and we're right now on the cusp of hearing that that all these restrictions could potentially be lifted for Ukraine to go after strikes inside of Russia. So obviously he's coming out here and letting the Ukrainian people know that the United States stands with them. They're going to back them. And if you notice, he also mentions that Ukraine will eventually become a part of the EU and also NATO. And he recently came out saying that also that for sure Ukraine is going to join NATO at some point. So big news coming out from the U.S. Secretary of State. Now this is from Lithuania. Next reports, Lithuania urges NATO to shoot down Russian drones entering alliance territory. Lithuanian Defense Minister Laurynas Kasčiūnas has called for changes to NATO's air patrol mission in the Baltic states following the recent downing of a Russian drone in Latvia. Their air patrol should not only monitor, but also, when necessary, speed up NATO's decision-making process so that planes can take off immediately and destroy drones, Kasčiūnas said. Okay, so this is very interesting. I mean, when it comes to NATO and having to protect their airspace, and, we got Joe Biden coming out all the time and saying, the United States will, or NATO will defend or U.S. will defend every inch of NATO territory. We continue to hear that, right? That, NATO projects this strength that they're going to defend every inch of their territory and whatnot. But yet, whenever they get invaded by Russian drones, they don't do anything. They allow these drones to crash into their territory, and there's obviously a number of reasons for that. Maybe escalation. They don't want to appear as if they're involved in this war, shooting down these drones. But at the same time, they're entering their territory and could potentially target a civilian. And what are they going to do if a civilian gets hit by one of these, maybe losing their life, unfortunately, right? So it's interesting that NATO already does not have a policy to shoot these down, that they basically just allow these to come into their country. And Vicegrad24, who I report a lot of their information on X, came out the other day and said, why does NATO not have a beefed up air defense, line of defense on the Eastern Front in all these nations like Romania, Poland, Lithuania, Latvia, Estonia? Why do these nations not have beefed up air defenses to protect from any incoming attacks if these drones end up in their territory? So I thought it was very interesting, but we definitely are starting to see a push in this direction for NATO start shooting down these drones, and this could be a lead up to starting to shoot down drones inside of Ukrainian territory. That could be what this is, okay? And we could definitely see that at some point. I mean, we've seen more and more escalation from both sides as this war has continued, so it would not surprise me if at some point we hear that. So let's go ahead and move on to our next update now. This is from Lithuania again. Bliskovka reports Lithuania plans to purchase short-range air defense systems for Ukraine. The country's president, Gitanas Nausėda, said, "We hope that within 2 to 3 weeks we will have a positive result and will be able to transfer these systems to the Ukrainians as soon as possible." So it looks like the country's president may be sending some short-range air defense systems to Ukraine very soon. So that's good news from them. Also coming out from Nexta, Reuters reports Zelensky and Xi Jinping may meet as early as October. This was stated by former Ukrainian Deputy Foreign Minister Oleksandr Shaly at the opening of the main Chinese military forum, Xiangjan, I think is how you say that. According to him, diplomatic relations between Kiev and Beijing have improved, so direct talks between the leaders are possible. Although China maintains close ties with Moscow, it positions itself as a neutral party in Russia's war against Ukraine. So very interesting, right? We could be seeing by October that Ukraine and China are negotiating and trying to help each other out to figure out a way to end this war. So who knows what's going to happen? Just wanted to share that with you in case we see this meeting between Xi Jinping and Volodymyr Zelensky in the near future here, probably in the next month, right? It's also from Anton Gerashenko. Russian Telegram channels report that a tank plant is on fire in Omsk, Russia. A column of thick smoke can be seen from the different parts of the city. Omsk Transmash completes orders for the Russian military. It produces tanks. Solensepyak, if I'm saying that right, sorry guys, heavy flamethrower systems. The plant is under international sanctions. So what's being reported here in Omsk, Russia, this is far deep, okay, probably about 1,800 kilometers deep into Russia on the southern portion, like south central. We just reported a fire here just the other day. Now we've got another fire at a Russian plant here in Omsk. I think the other one was some sort of drone producing facility or producing spare parts for their drones. Now we've got this plant that produces tanks, okay, that's on fire also. So we got 2 videos here to show you of these major fires in the Omsk region. So let's take a look at these. Okay, just a quick 6-second clip there, and definitely a massive fire here in Omsk, Russia. And like I said, we have been seeing lots of military facilities or facilities that produce military equipment catching on fire. Now, we don't know what started this fire. Was it some sort of sabotage? I'm thinking it is at this point. We've just seen this happening way too many times, and there wasn't any reports of drones in this area. But who knows? Maybe it was a drone attack. Maybe it wasn't. And if it wasn't a drone attack, my best guess is probably some sort of sabotage event, as we continue to see this almost every day in Russia. So one more video to take a look at of this fire in Omsk. All right, pretty crazy to see, guys. Nothing but fires in Russia lately. I mean, literally almost every day, that's all I show you guys, is fires breaking out. And typically what we see is if there's any kind of, any type of manufacturing plants that are catching on fire, a lot of times they have connections with Russia's military. So who knows if these are Ukrainian saboteurs on the inside conducting these attacks on these facilities and catching them on fire to put pressure on Russia's military. So also from the Ukrainian Review, we need money to increase production volumes, production of drones. We have these capabilities. I spoke with this with partners at Ramstein. Zelensky said, Ukrainian factories are ready to increase, double our production. We are turning to our partners for help. Okay, so this has been something that's been reported a lot, probably over the last week. We've been hearing a lot of this. Ukraine coming out and saying they just don't have the money to fund many of these programs, like their Palynitsia drones they're building. Lithuania just committed, I think, 10 million euros recently, or $10 million, if I'm not mistaken, to Ukraine to help them build and construct these Palynitsia drones, as Ukraine is short on funding, apparently. We even reported just not too long ago, I heard some information from Oleksandr Syrsky, I believe, that they didn't even have money to pay their troops in some cases, I think like last month. So definitely Ukraine is having some issues when it comes to funding. And we'll see if the Western partners are going to step up. We have been seeing that a little bit, but Ukraine definitely needs some help, apparently, when it comes to finances to produce the weaponry that is domestically made in their country. So now moving on to next, Zelensky confirms the Russian counteroffensive in the Kursk region, according to him, is going according to our Ukrainian plan. He added that Ukraine has also long seen the accumulation of troops in Belarus. We control this process. So this was something reported from Volodymyr Zelensky just in the last 24 hours. There was a conference of him coming out stating that apparently the counteroffensive from the Russians, they were expecting that to happen. They were anticipating it, and it is going according to plan. I'm not really sure how that would be going according to plan, but maybe they have some sort of plan to draw the troops to attack them, so that way maybe they can wipe them out and push over and take out the Glushkovsky district. I don't really know. We'll have to see what the Ukrainians are planning here soon, but we did report yesterday that Russia launched a major counteroffensive in the Kursk region, taking over approximately 10 settlements and 150 square kilometers of previously controlled Ukrainian territory in the Kursk region of Russia. So also, in regards to Belarus, looks like they're still seeing troops building up on the Belarusian border with Ukraine, which is very concerning for Ukraine. And what are we going to see? Are we going to see Belarus join this war? What's going to happen? We still don't know, but the Ukrainians are apparently watching the process of Belarus building up on the border. Also from Bliskovka, a group of Ukrainian pilots is already undergoing training on F-16s in Romania, reports Defense Minister Rustem Umerov. Okay, so Rustem Umerov, the Defense Minister of Ukraine here, coming out and reporting that we've got more Ukrainian pilots training in Romania to fly F-16s. This also makes sense why we heard that some F-16s that were given to Ukraine would be stationed in Romania. That's probably for these training purposes, okay? And from what I understand, I think it takes 9 months for a Ukrainian pilot to fully train to fly these F-16s, and who knows, maybe even a little bit longer before they go on combat missions. And we know Ukraine is very short on pilots. Last I heard, they only had something like 6 pilots, and one of them they crashed one of the F-16s just a few weeks back inside of Ukraine. So does that mean they only have 5? Who knows? They only have a handful of pilots that are actually trained to fly these, from what I understand. So also from NOAA reports, we got a report coming out from the Belgorod region regarding this train that derailed yesterday. I've got more information coming out. The train in the Belgorod region was derailed due to a joint operation by Ukraine's military intelligence, HUR, and Special Forces, SSO, on September 10th. Explosives were planted and detonated on the Staryoskol Valuki railway line. The operation successfully derailed a freight train supplying the Russian army, paralyzing the key railway route. Okay, so we reported this yesterday to you guys. In the last 48 hours, there was a train that derailed in the Belgorod region, and we didn't really have any information as to how that happened. And apparently this was Ukrainians' military intelligence and special forces that took this thing out, okay? They detonated it, these explosives on the track that caused this train to derail. And this is a key railway that Russia uses for their military to transport equipment, okay? So this was a picture coming out from probably one of the Russian Telegram channels. So also let's move on now to military news UA. We got a couple of reports left and we'll get you guys out of here. Thanks for your patience. The Pentagon is allocating $1.2 billion for the production of AMRAAM medium-range missiles for sale to countries, including Ukraine. These missiles have a range of up to 160 kilometers. Okay, so here's a picture of one of those. And as from what I understand, these are very sophisticated missiles that Ukraine could probably use on their F-16s. And from what we're hearing, the Pentagon allocating a large amount, okay, $1.2 billion to start producing these medium-range missiles for other countries and also for Ukraine. And again, they've got a range of up to 160 kilometers. So another missile and weapon system going to Ukraine here in the future. So big news for Ukraine. Now take a look at this from Globe Eye News. The Taliban wants to buy air defense systems from Russia. This is huge, okay? This is one of the S-300 or S-400 systems in Russia. And we're seeing these go all over the place now, okay? We've been seeing S-400 systems going to Iran. Okay, Iran already bought several of these to defend their skies. Now it looks like the Taliban wants to buy these also. And what are we seeing? We are definitely seeing an arms race build up all over the world. Okay, we just heard some reports coming out in the last week too that the United States wants to send medium-range missiles over to Japan. China and Russia's already come out and warned on that and said, don't send these over there or we're going to jointly respond to this. What are they going to do? Start deploying missiles at maybe Cuba again, or what's going to happen here? I have no idea. But we are definitely seeing a major arms race here, and there's just weapons flowing all over the place, and it's exactly what Vladimir Putin recently said, was that he would start arming Western enemies, okay? And obviously the Taliban is an enemy to the West. And they even have all this weaponry that was left behind after the Afghanistan war when the United States pulled out a few years back. They got all that $85 billion of weaponry from the United States. So pretty crazy, guys. I mean, this is definitely shaping up to turn into a world war, and we're seeing counters here and counters there, and just lots of arms race, okay? Arms just going all over the place, and it's very scary to think about, okay? There's going to be a massive war at some point, whether it happens now, sometime soon, or in the future, in years from now, a decade from now. I mean, there's definitely going to be a massive war across the entire world when this thing kicks off, and we're just seeing this consistently, okay? So also, finally, from War Monitor, the Ukrainian army is the most battle-tested army in the world right now. After the war, its acceptance to NATO should be first priority. The experience it provides is invaluable. Okay, so I wanted to share this with you because I think this is very true, okay? Ukraine is, aside from being given weaponry from the West, they are battle-tested, okay? They have gone up against what would be considered one of the greatest armies in the world, the Russians. And if you think about how this whole thing began, okay, when this war began back in 2022, when Russia launched their invasion, they said Kiev would be taken over in days, and it did not happen. And now what, we're 2.5 years going into almost 3 years of this war. Russia has made some gains, yes, but they have not gained the territory or even taken over Ukraine in the way they thought they would have. And Ukraine has definitely put a stop to this war for the most part. Now, will Ukraine win? Who knows? We'll see. If they do, if they win, or if Russia wins, who knows what's going to happen here. But this is very true, okay? And the value that the Ukrainians have now, they've got definitely something to offer to NATO. as many of their troops are probably more battle hardened than many of the NATO countries right now. Okay, even more than the U.S. What did the U.S. come out saying recently? That this is the first time they have been engaged in a major combat with any nation. Okay, as they've been basically fighting against the Houthi rebels down in Yemen. The Navy has experienced more battle with the Houthi rebels than they have in all of how many of the last maybe 60 years or so, longer than that since World War II. Okay, so definitely Ukraine's got a lot to offer to NATO now, and that's why I thought I wanted to share that with you guys and let you know that it's definitely very true. Okay. And, Ukraine's got major experience from fighting this war, and they're battle hardened right now, been going up against a major fighting force like Russia for the last several years. So, yeah, guys, I mean, just major information coming out from Ukraine today, but definitely what we saw over the last 24 hours. Huge strikes inside of Ukraine, targeting lots of civilian infrastructure. Looks like a lot of people, unfortunately, lost their lives last night. Dozens of people being injured all over Ukraine. Massive strikes from the Russians, and Ukraine taking out that ammo dump down in the Mariupol region. So that's going to be it for today's update, though. I hope you got something out of this. If you did, please smash that like button. Also, if you enjoy my content, please consider subscribing down below. Hit the notification bell. That way YouTube can notify you. And with that, I hope y'all have a great day. Everybody take care and God bless, and we'll see you in the next one.